first question goes to Barrister Chike. So there's this question here that says, what is the most important trait or skill that an effective leader should have?
Thank you for the question. Should I come out? I think I should come out, yes. So, the first book I read on leadership is called The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. Who knows that book? It's by a leadership expert called John Maxwell. And he argues that to be an effective leader, you need to know how to do 21 things well. And it seems daunting. In fact, when I read it, I was, where do I even start, But I think if I'm to answer that question, the most significant trait you require, and I think it's been touched on by different presentations here, is that trait of growth and improvement. John Maxwell did not start out being a good speaker. He had to develop himself to be a good communicator. He did not start out being a good writer. He learned it. He didn't start out knowing how to connect with people. He had to learn it. So if you are willing to improve yourself, you can learn people skills. It's one of the things that are taught in the Institute. The Institute is called the program is People-Focused Leadership. I am not naturally good at relating with people. I'm learning it. So if you're willing to learn, and I think connecting with people is essential for leadership, no matter how good you are. So if you are willing to learn and improve yourself, in fact, it was Kostner and Posner, I think there's a statement that says, it is the ability and willingness to improve their skills that distinguishes leaders from followers. A leader will always be getting better at what he does. He never stops growing. In fact, John Maxwell says, I don't set goals, I simply want to grow. I just want to keep on becoming better at what I do. And so he's written maybe 50 plus books. He's still writing. He just keeps on. It's part of his development. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Barrister Chike. I'm still coming back to you, actually. So for that question, you talked about growth and improvement. It was Napoleon Hill that also said that growth only comes through struggle and effort. So you need to be active. There's a lot we can say about taking action on the head knowledge you have. So the traits that you should have as a leader is that commitment to growth and improvement. Thank you very much once again, Barrister Ekweme. So there's a question here from someone who does not think he or she is a natural leader. And the question goes, I don't think I'm a natural leader. Must we all be leaders? Very contextual question.
Okay, let me throw that back to us. Do you think we should all be leaders? Someone said yes. Why do you say yes? Can we give him the mic? Is that another mic?
Okay, I think you can be a leader in your sphere, in your plane. For example, my dad sends me to do something. Me doing that thing, I'm already doing a trait of leadership. So you can be a leader based on where you are, not actually on a position of being you get what I'm saying? You're right.
That said no. Somebody said no. Let's hear from you. Have you agreed with him now? Or you still say no? Okay, let's hear why she says no.
Okay, thank you. I don't think everybody has to be a leader. Who will follow us? That's the question. Thank you.
Let's appreciate her. What I think that we have just seen in addressing this question is two different perspectives of leadership. In the first case, she's thinking about leadership, about the position. That's what she's thinking about. But he's thinking about leadership as problem solving, service, influence, which is a broader way to look at leadership. You know, I think it's John Maxwell that said leadership is influence. And then, what did Jesus Christ say? The leader is the servant of all. Everybody can be a leader. If you are willing to serve, to solve problems, to make things better, then you can be a leader. But not everybody can have that position, isn't it? You can only have one president of Nigeria, only one, you know, president, governor of the state, and so on. Those positions are limited, but we can all make an impact through service. So I think we can all be leaders. Thank you.
Excellent. Let's appreciate Barrister Chike once again. Does anyone have a question? I still have two more here, but I'd like to give... Okay, there's a question here. Let's take the mic to the gentleman. Please, let's have your name and then your question. Thank you.
My name is Iniabasi Frame. Okay, my question goes to the president. She talked about cultural diversity. But I don't know, Ma, if you can actually throw a light on also religious diversity, because it's actually causing a problem in Nigerian nation building. Especially based on, if you look at the last election, when people were actually talking on Muslim ticket. So I don't know if you can actually, what is the role of religion, in nation building? Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question. Religion. Religion is an institution built by human beings. It's our effort to serve God. And when you talk about religion in nation building, I think we are talking about the institutions that we have created, like churches, mosque, and other religions. But I think what we need to focus on as a people is the worship of God. Is the worship of God. And it should not be, the religion should not be anything that should be dividing people. I remember in the 1960s, as a young child, in this Lagos, one of the primary schools I attended, Asarudin, I think my family just, however they made their decision, I was under 10 years. I went to that school, and I had no knowledge of the difference. We went to church, but at school we are doing Isila, Inama, whatever. I can't remember it now. I got back home, I'm singing. I got back home, I was singing that, and my sister said, "What's that? Where did you get it?" I was taken aback. I thought I was just doing what I was taught in school. It wasn't anything that had, what I'm driving at mentioning the 1960s is, in this same nation, we had the Muslims, we had the Christians. Nobody used it against each other. In the South here, you have families that in one family half are Muslims, half are Christians, and they are still family. Isn't that a good picture? They are still family. Religion should not be anything that is the politicians that are doing these things. They use it to whatever they think they will gain, but then they leave us wounded. They leave us wounded. So that's why we are saying to you younger ones, don't follow that path. Don't follow that path. See your fellow human being as a human being and somebody you can relate to and have things to do in common. And finally, I want to say this. Week before last, I was out of the country, And I met a man, you can check his site, TAF, they call him TAF. He developed a huge estate in Port Harcourt. I don't remember the name, whether it's Lion or something, in Port Harcourt. He's not a Nigerian, he's a Gambian, and he's a Muslim. So I'm out there, and we walked into him. I've never met him, but I have seen his work. And he engaged me, Muslim, me, Christian. And that man gave us, he said he has an academy, leadership academy, and he has 11 modules. And he started mentioning them. Module 1, integrity, accountability, transparency, you know. Those, the 11 of them. And he is an educated, intelligent man. Gambia is one of the poorest nations in Africa. But that man has a vision for people. Then he said something. He said, these my brothers that are in politics, they don't remember they are human beings. They don't remember they will one day die. They stay there until they die there, and they leave the rest of us in poverty because they've seized up all the money that belonged to all of us. I was listening to him and imagining in my mind, now, how could this man become my enemy? How could I make him an enemy? Because of religion? No. And while he was talking, he was saying, you reverend people, you believe one way to God. But I know there are two ways to God. Religion is not even anything you go arguing with anybody. Leave it out in your life. Leave it out. So whether it is tribe, whether it's religion, or whatever else, you should not allow it to divide our nation. That's all I can say.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for that answer. I remember in my younger years when I used to trade the financial markets quite actively, we used to say that money has no color, it has no religion. When you pick up the phone to do a deal, you don't really care where the person is from or what the person is worshiping. Just do a deal and make money, okay? So let's not allow religion to be used as a tool to divide us, okay? Are there any other questions? Okay, sir, can we give him a mic?
Good afternoon. I have a question for Barrister Ikweme. I want to ask, what role can educators play in promoting a sense of responsibility in nation building?
That's a very critical question. How many would agree with me? Very important. Education is like, through education, we can imbibe values. Like what she said happened in her primary school. Ultimately, some values will be passed across to her through that process. But you mentioned specifically sense of responsibility. Yes. So values like doing your homework, like order, like having, encouraging volunteering, like I spoke about positioning. Yeah. So encouraging students to step forward. The whole educational system, I think, is designed to do that, but it has to be a bit more deliberate, I think. And I think that I'm so happy for the fact that so many private sector players are coming into that space. And so I think that there's much more opportunity for nation building type values to permeate the educational sector. Because what happened is that I think a number of the schools that were controlled by the federal government became, to an extent, politicized. How many of you agree with me? That even the curriculum was directed with an agenda. But because there's liberalization now, we can have more players come and actually counter that. So I want to, doff my hat to Success Bridge and such institutions that are trying to inculcate the right values in our children, because what they're doing is building for the next generation. And educationist is not really building for the next 10 years, but for next, the things I learned in primary secondary school are still with me today. They are informing my decisions today. The friends I made, and the fact that when we went to school, I know I'm veering off your question now, but when we went to school, we were nurtured in such a way that there was no sense of I am Igbo, you are Yoruba, you are Hausa. We all mixed. That bond was there, and I think that was a huge advantage of what some people call the unity schools. And I think that such values can be promoted through the educational structure. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Barrister Chike. And since we have two excellent schools represented here, Damsol and Success Bridge, I'd like to encourage our schools. There is a tendency to focus on hard skills. When we say hard skills, technical skills. But we need an environment in which we need to begin to emphasize a lot of social skills, helping our children to think critically. And I saw that, a personal example in my daughter. She was given an assignment to study the political evolution of Nigeria. I'm not sure I've ever done that personally. And she was engaging me in some questions, and I was wondering, where is all this coming from? They are being taught to think critically, and so that's a challenge that we would like to throw out to our educational institutions. Let's teach our children that, desire for knowledge, that desire to think critically, that desire to engage intellectually. Thank you very much. Let's appreciate Barrister Chike once again for his answer to that question.
Something little I want to add. Appeal also to our educationists amongst us. I've always believed that the curriculum that we use in Nigeria, let me speak for Nigeria, should be reversed. We don't have to be, okay, let me leave that. The critical thinking thing is a key thing missing in our educational system. People who went to university have all these complaints where whatever the lecturer taught you is what you're expected to reproduce. You are not allowed to do research on your own. We don't encourage our children to do research. And then when an intelligent child now goes beyond the notes of the lecturer and does a little research, uses that research to present his assignment, the lecturer is upset. You are trying to show you know too much. Is that what I taught you? Reproduce what I taught you. In real life, what it has done to us, I've been in high-level meetings. What it has done to us is when we are interacting with other parts of the world, we can't communicate confidently. We can't, we are always bowed and whisper. We can't raise our voices. We don't think we know anything worth hearing. So our curriculum needs to change. Trying to gain acceptance to the university, even the one in Nigeria here, it was problem solving, critical thinking, and they asked the questions. my brain was trained the British way, objectives. Yes, no, yes, no. So I don't have that capability to process things and think critically. We need it in our politics. We need it in our economics, whatever aspect of life. We need critical thinking so that we are not yes people. That's who we are. We are yes people. Anything, yes ma, yes sir. And you are trying to pull the person, go beyond yes. What do you think? And the person can't talk. So we need to, just like he said, we need to, I don't know how to do it, reverse. Can you speak into that? You travel to, what do they call it, Rwanda, and you tell them all of that. So help us.
Thank you, ma. Well, the Nigerian curriculum is changing because it needs to change. There's a lot of this yes thing. That is, we are taught to pass exams, unfortunately. We're taught to pass exams, and the children need to pass exams. But then the 21st century learning skills are coming into private schools. So private schools are getting the children to think what? To be problem solvers. Critically that are brought before them. For us at Dancehall, incidentally, we run a Christian school, and we're not that narrow, but what we do is we're raising them to be leaders. Because for the name Dancehall stands for Daniel and Solomon, we're raising Daniels. We're raising children that are going to stand and make a godly difference. So all of the levels of leadership that they need to acquire, to attain, we get them to attain it. So when they get to a class, we want them to be, okay, I'm going to be a Christian media person, I'm going to be a leader in media, in law, in sports, all of those fields, but also for family and all of the places. We want to see leadership in them, that they're going to be salt and light. So they write essays. From SS1 to 3, they're able to, and right from JS1, they want to be seen as ones that can, and then they want to collaborate. We want to raise groups that we look at what we call the group of 4. Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So there's a group of 4 in every class. We want to work together to be able to solve problems. So it's there, but it would depend on the individual school. But when it comes to the curriculum, it's controlled by government for now. But while also the examination bodies are, getting softer and bringing in some level of critical thinking and problem solving. Thank you, ma'am.
I think we can do better than that. Let's appreciate Mrs. Akinyemiji. Excellent. Okay, we'll take just 2 more questions. We're already 2 minutes in breach of our timing. There's a question written down here that I will take, and then the gentleman, I'll take your question subsequently. Is that okay? Excellent. So this question is for the president, still on the, this question is for the president, still on the topic of cultural diversity. And this person says, still on our educational system, it's interesting that we've dovetailed into that. It says, how can Nigerian schools promote cultural diversity and inclusion among students from various ethnic backgrounds?
I think Barrister Kwame touched on it a few minutes ago. A school have to do that. It depends on the leadership of the schools. I really don't know how you do that. For me, as a child, I danced before Oba of Lagos in the 60s. Can you believe that? Our school took us there. So it's nothing new. It's just that we are losing out in all of those things. And the wisdom we need is to know that these things are just creeping in now. and destroying the beautiful culture we have in our nation. We can't stop the people who are up there right now, but we can begin to do what we are doing now, acquiring knowledge, so when you find opportunity, you can do the right thing. You know, that's what I can say. I don't know the nitty-gritty of incorporating the culture, the different cultures. They do it in a way, but I've not been there, so I don't know what they tell the children. We see them dress traditional dresses of different tribes, but I don't know the rest of it. So unless there's any other person that wants to add something to that.
Thank you very much. Okay.
What I want to add to what the president has said about this is that values are so important. Certain values will help us blur the dividing lines that are, about where we come from or how we look. Values like unconditional love, acceptance, a sense of belonging. And I think schools can be very deliberate about this, getting people to mix together, to making things like excellence more important than your background. So that you can see people who, from different backgrounds, social backgrounds even. Somebody came from a poor in quote family, somebody came from an average family, and they mix. It's done deliberately, with strategically, so that if you are going to shine, you're shining no matter where you came from. And so it's actually a cultural thing. A school can have a culture. How many of you agree with me? Yeah, you can build culture into your institutions. And therefore, somebody comes out after 5 or 6 years, there's that sense of diversity and inclusion already part of their makeup. And they can go into the world and meet somebody from another part of the world, not even another Nigerian, and yet they can be effective. That's why they can go to another society and flow. So I think education is so critical. I don't know why it's come to education now. Maybe that's the takeaway. If we're going to do a communique, we want to do a communique out from this conference. Education has come out as one of the key pillars for national transformation. And it's so important in inculcating these values. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll still come to you, but because we're still on this topic of diversity and inclusion, there's a question I had here, what I have here. How do we foster trust between diverse groups? It's still along the same thoughts that we've been taking.
If you allow me, I read from my textbook. I wrote it, but yet to be published. It's an organizational leadership and management textbook. And this is under culture. What is trust? Trust is a firm belief in the reliability, truth, or ability of someone or something. Okay? Relationships have to be built on trust. It is impossible to attain and maintain global competitiveness in serving people without continuously, aggressively improving the process we use to serve those people. I could read more, but let me say this. Trust. Before you can build trust, yourself must be trustworthy. Okay? If you say, I'm coming means you're on your way, you are going, not I'm coming and you will never show up. If you say, whatever you say, if it's an organization, your staff and your management should be able to trust you. We are going to pay this out. If something happened and you are unable to pay it out, explain to them, for this reason, we couldn't meet up what we thought we were going to do. And let it be maybe once in a while thing. It should not be a regular thing that, oh, they've come again. So you yourself must be trustworthy. To encourage others to trust you, that means you need to relate with people. Yesterday, one of the definitions I gave us about leadership is that leadership occurs in a group. Leadership, you don't just stand up and say, I'm a leader, and announce yourself a leader everywhere. But you can't relate with people. Okay, let me now hit the question. Yoruba, Hausa, Idoma, I'm trying as a Nigerian. What are the rest? Efik, they are in my team. They are in my team, and I'm leading. I need to appreciate what each person's tribe stands for. What do you know about the Efiks? What do you know about the Igbos? What do you know about the Yorubas or the Hausas and the rest of them? What do you know about them? That's what they will bring into that team. That's what they will bring. So if you don't even know what they can bring, you will not be able to draw it out from people. To get people to trust you, go extra mile. You have to go extra mile. Do you have a vision? It takes you all of your life to get people to buy into your vision. All of your life. Because that issue of trust will come up. Is this person reliable? Can I follow this person? Is he or she going to drive this car that we are into a ditch? Are we all going to die? Can I trust this person? And in organization, we are talking to people about building strategic direction. And we know that strategy is for life. That vision doesn't start and end here. It's heading somewhere. And you want people to follow you. Like she has a huge group of schools. She wants people to remain in that school even when she's no longer around. How do I get people to trust this vision I have, that it can serve them and serve their family maybe 2 generations away, if they remain there, if they serve there? If that trust is not there, people are ready to talk them away. What are you doing in that place? You need to go away. There's a better place. I will show you a better place. They pay better price. You don't have to remain with this person. The trust you have created will help that person, if that person is a good thinker, to process all I'm hearing and all I have seen. I think I have a future here. And then I remain and walk. So trust is defined as, not defined, but described as being a glue of life. Trust. When you communicate, do people hear trust from you? Do you talk and somebody is thinking, liar, liar, he's coming again? You can communicate trust. So it's key. So if I'm a good leader working at it, good in the sense that I'm trying to manage my team, then every person there, I can tell you from life example, team leadership is beautiful, but very difficult to manage. Because of the differences. The one who has idea to give you, the one that is like talking away the idea, like, the one that is acting like he or she is dumb, is not talking. But the person is loaded has so much to contribute. How do you unlock that person? How do you unlock him or her to make contribution, effective contributions? So trust is key. It's a powerful glue. And when we talk about values, if you get people to believe, you have to be constant. You have to be stable. You have to be reliable. You don't say one thing and do another. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Do we have a mic for the gentleman? Our last question. Please give us your name and then your question.
Thank you very much. My name is Timitokwe. So I would like to first start with the topic I met in leadership in nation building. But first, I want us to look at this philosophy that says the law of blank slate by the philosopher Locke. And it says, at birth, every human mind is blank slate without rule for processing. And for us to build leadership, right, it is very important that we first look into what we call household. Then household move into society, then society becomes government, if I'm correct. So here's my question. The first one is, our young youths and our teenagers, they grow to see what is going on around and use that as a metric for the decision they take, either to go to leadership or whatever path they want to go in life. So the first question is, how can we, and I'm directing it to the organizer, the management of this program, how can we incorporate parents into leadership training? Yes, because when I see leadership training across the country, we call youth. But the first point of influence on these young people are parents. And if we don't get the right mindset for our parents to be able to guide these youth to the point whereby they can make their own decision, it's very critical. So that's the first question. How can we incorporate parents into leadership training? The second one, how can we make leadership training courses or program more attractive to capture the mind of our young people? Because it is very important that when we go to different leadership conference, we talk about corporate leadership, business leadership, but we really talk about personal leadership, because that personal leadership is what we actually trickle down to say, when I wake up early in the morning, I want to do the right thing. And when I do that thing, right, one way or the other, directly or indirectly, I am influencing the people around me to take such personal responsibility as well. So, and lastly, I remember when I was growing up as a teenager, right, in local community, the first point of influence is people around us, integrity, work hard, love your neighbor, and that was what we grew up with. But in our days, as we're growing up in this present generation, what an average teenager or toddler will be exposed to is the media, the TV, which is not even adding any significant or showing what leadership or personal leadership is. And that is why I'm saying, how can we incorporate parents into leadership, right? And as we're growing up, okay.
No, you can wrap up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. That's all.
Excellent. Let's appreciate him. Thank you very much. There were a lot of comments and questions in there. But the one on parents, you know, Barrister Ekweme already told us about taking responsibility for transforming our nation. It's the same principle in taking responsibility for transforming your family. The good book says, or there's a principle that says, teach a child the way he or she should go. And what will happen? Sorry, what will happen? That he or she will not depart. So the way to incorporate parents into leadership is for parents to simply be conscious enough to teach their parents, their wards or their children, leadership skills. What was your other question? Personal leadership. Okay, does anyone want to take personal leadership? You touched on it when you talked about self-assessment, self-evaluation, comparative. Barrister Chike talked about number one, knowing yourself, and then he said after knowing yourself, what should you do? Growing yourself. So personal leadership starts with self-awareness, understanding who you are, and there's a course. If you go to pflconsult.com, the first module in the People Focused Leadership course talks about the personality traits of the leader. That's me paraphrasing. So it will be good to take that course, because what that course does is that it teaches you self-awareness, which is the basic or the foundation for you launching into being able to manage yourself. Any additions to that? Thank you.
If your question about parents, if what you have on your mind is about how we can, or maybe children trying to correct the wrongs of their parents, I don't know which angle you are coming. But if it is about, because young people have that, from research, I find that the millennium, they talk so much about the millennium. Those people, those young ones in their 30s, they have a lot of grievances against authority figures because of disappointments they see, whether political, spiritual, family, authority. So they push back on authority, and they resist, whether parent or whoever is in leadership, they resist them. I would say this to you, being an African and a Nigerian, please, we don't rebuke parents. We don't rebuke father nor mother. We don't rebuke elders. That's what I said. Let's engage and keep the conversation going. Like we finished this session, when you go, keep in touch with us. Let the conversation continue, maybe online until we have another physical gathering, where we need to profile solutions. How do we engage our parents? If they are doing things we don't like, if we look back and we say, I don't like the way they brought me up, you don't have to. You don't have to rebuke our parents or elders. There has to be a way to engage. I like to use the word engage. There has to be a way to engage so that we win their respect, we win their attention by the way we behave, by the way we talk, so that when we now want to communicate what is on our mind, we are communicating it respectfully, yet we are hitting at the point. Does that make sense? Yes, we need to all imbibe that. Life is not just what we see physically. There are a lot of things that make up life. So we need to be careful. We are not happy with all that is happening. That doesn't mean we should be rude. It doesn't mean we should be insulting. We don't talk to people who know more than us, like, you the younger ones, you know better than them. You have the technology. You can teach them this. They don't know this and that and that. No, you are actually inviting problem on yourself. So that's the angle I want to mention. Then the rest of the answers given, they are already processed what you have heard. We've said a lot between yesterday and today. Process them. Think about them. And we will make these teachings available. If you check with us, you'll find them. And feel free to engage, ask questions. We are on LinkedIn, we are on Facebook, we are on Instagram. Where else? We're on the social media handles. Just find Grace Johnson Leadership Institute. You have website, www.PFL, people, that's what I'm wearing this morning, People Focused Leadership, PFL, consult.com, and we will answer your questions. Everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's appreciate the President.